This is the Segovia Show.
Yes, greetings one, greetings all. Let me just make sure the sound is coming through. Let's see. And it is. All right. Well, welcome to the stream. Right now I'm waiting for Zoom to pop up for that, my goodness, whatchamacallit? The insurance commissioner thing. I've been driving for 2 hours to get here. I had to get something to eat that I didn't want to eat. So I'm a little worse for wear after a very busy convention. Shout out to those of you on YouTube. Oh, it started. It's on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Thank you, Nick Coconut, for chiming in on Rumble. I know, well, I expect some people to jump in. All right, looks like they're going to start. Okay, there's... okay. Oh, it's going to be in English and Spanish. Okay. All right, so they're getting ready to queue up. They're just doing some background prep. Let me see if I can share. Yeah. All right, let me try this. Okay, so there it is. I just don't know how to control the volume of this thing though. Audio settings. Because it was coming really loud in my ears. So if you're tuning in, I'd appreciate you can, once they start talking, you'll be able to hear just how loud they might be. I usually do it this way. Let me try this way. All right, today I'm going to do it this way. Let me get my logo up here so we can make it official. And while they're queuing up, I was just at a property owners conference. It's called Landlording Conference. I've never been a fan of that title, property owners conference. This one was held in Long Beach, California. This is an all-day event. But I usually hit the trade floor, talk to people, catch up with some old friends like I did today. It's nice to see some faces are still fighting the good fight out there when it comes to what happens in California. You know what? Let me see if I want to try this. Let me see. Okay. This tends to look more proper. I find the American flag a bit distracting as it keeps running in the background, but now this looks a little off center. Okay, it might be them. All right, looks like they're doing something. Let me see how this sounds. I have a feeling you guys are not hearing it. Oh, no, no, no. Okay, I'll explain to you guys. Let me take this off right now. Okay, thank you, Coconut, for telling me you can only hear my voice. This might not work because they're doing this bilingual, and the lady speaking, and then the translator is speaking over her. So it's like, man, I'm supposed to somehow give my own take on this. So tell you what. Okay. So they're still doing something there. Okay. So my goodness. Sorry. Just you guys don't know how many voices I'm hearing in my ears because they're all talking to each other and over one another. But meanwhile, I'm talking to you, those of you that are tuning in. So this is what I'm going to do instead. They're going over a dais. There's quite a few people. So let me recording and monitoring with respect to participants, convening, safe environment, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm leaving the webinar. This is chaotic. I don't know how they intend to hold an entire event with that many people talking like that. And the worst part is that they're doing it in English and trying to pause to then let the translator speak in Spanish to then catch up. So if this is like a 1 hour thing, it's going to be like a 2 hour thing. And they have a dais of people that are going to be speaking. So this is not the same way they did it last time. And I respect your time. I respect my time. I do not like the format in which they're doing this. If I'm not mistaken, they could have just done like a live translator with subtitles. AI has all these features. I think Zoom has that too. So I'm sure they could have tried this out. So instead of going over the insurance commissioner's briefing, because I cannot tolerate that. Yo hablo español, but I cannot. That is an awful format. It's so the Coconut weighed in on the chat over there on Rumble and said you can only hear my voice as I was trying to load up the stream. And I'm like, good for you guys that you guys didn't hear how chaotic that sounds. Like, dude, that's supposed to be a briefing for insurance. I don't know how they're going to explain all this insurance stuff. So instead, I'm going to tune into that after they've posted it and then give I guess an abridged version of that in an upcoming episode of the program, because yeah, like I said, there's just absolutely no way that I can do that. So to just touch upon the insurance briefing though, and that's really key, because I had at the conference today over at I guess I should show you some stuff. AOAUSA.com. So let me pull up their site so then you guys can see who and what I'm talking about. And this is not meant to be advertising for them. Yes, I joined in, so I am a member of theirs, but I am not doing this because, well, it's like advertising for them. That wasn't my intention. They do good work, and it's important work for those of us that own property here in California, particularly in the Los Angeles and Orange County area, because there's just so much going on and there's only so much attention a day that we have. So let me go over to their site. This is AOAUSA.com. Just waiting for the service to look. It messed up my format. Come on. All right. So let me remove my logo because now it's overlapping. Okay. So they call it the free $1 million trade show and landlording conference. I am not a big fan of that. That's more another generation speak, to not sound so condescending. But here is what was presented at an event like this. So this is a free event that's done twice a year. And I let a president of the organization, Jeff Fowler, explain it. He explained it on my show when I had him on a couple of years ago. So I did clip that out and put on the social medias for you guys to catch up on. But the reason this is important is because there's many speakers. There's usually about 20 speakers, but the ones that I'm most familiar with, and I went over there to say hi because I see them at least once a year, that would be right here to the left on the second row, and first column, second row. His name is Michael Brennan, Esquire. So he's a landlord-tenant attorney. And he was the first one up. For those of you that were following me on my socials and probably saw that I was posting some updates, his was the first talk that I showed up for because, well, usually when he speaks, I listen, and he does other speaking engagements too. So the updates he gave, stuff that I already knew because, well, I follow him across other stuff, and I get the newsletter. But he prepared a PowerPoint slide that will be available. So I'm gonna get it tomorrow, I hope, because I'm gonna reach out to the office when it's available and get it. And I'm sure they're not gonna mind me sharing it, but it's gonna give you a rundown for those of you here in California. It's gonna give you a rundown of the list of laws at the state level that have been defeated thanks to property owners such as yourselves and concerned citizens. They don't have to just be property owners. It can be right-minded tenants. What I mean by right-minded tenants is that they know that if something is going to impact the owner of their property, someone that's who knows, they landlord well, let's just put it that way, then they know it's like, dude, it's going to affect me directly, because everything that happens and they try to punish the landlords, guess who's the one that ends up footing the bill? The tenants. And then the tenants activist groups move on to go complain to Sacramento to then go punish the property owners, in which then it's passed on to the tenants who are ultimately punished, and the tenants activist groups go back to Sacramento. Do you see the loop that's happening here? So unlike other places, and Los Angeles has their own, they call it property owner or landlord workshop. They host one, like, I don't know if it's bi-weekly or once a month. I'm always invited to those. I've only attended once and I'm done, because just like any Marxist socialist environment, they were not there to try to help me. They were there to shame me. Anybody that knows anything about a color revolution knows what is done to those that have, or those that are villainized by the government in power, and to shame those that are supposed capitalists. And sometimes the punishments are severe just because they own, because it's not the government that owns it. That's what it felt like to me when I went to one of these workshops. I'm like, you invited me here for this? It's kind of like, for those of you that follow right-wing media stuff or on X and whatnot, what Tim Pool experienced at that stupid, what's that thing, that drum circle thingy, and the two people in the center, and they're debating, but they always clip it. These are like 2-hour events, but they clip out like a few seconds to make someone look good or look bad. Yeah, so what Tim Pool experienced, and that was totally out of context for those that just saw the clip circling on social media, that's what it was akin to. Being at a supposed property owner's workshop for the city of Los Angeles to chastise me for being a property owner. The whole thing was literally presented as a way for how the tenants can screw me up. So I'm like, why am I here? So with that in mind, when these guys speak, and this is a free event, these guys are attorneys. They take time off to be there, and they give you information, and they also have booths so you can do short consultations with them. Dennis Block is to the one all the way to the right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but this all the way to the right, there we go. That's Dennis Block, Esquire. So he's an eviction attorney. He's one of the big ones. So he was going over some scams that have been happening, that property owners have been coming to him to try to fight. Now, I want to be very, very clear on something like this. This is not just for landlords. There were tenants present here, and I always encourage tenants to show up, because there's a lot of tenants that want to eventually be homeowners, and this will give you a reality of what a property owner experiences when they are owning property in a rent control area. It doesn't just have to be California or more region specific like Los Angeles and things like that, because this is basically the MO for anywhere that has some kind of rent stabilization ordinance, or a blue state, a blue city, and things like that. So those of you that are not familiar, and this I always recap this because I have to, a rent stabilization ordinance, what is that? RSO, or what you guys might know as rent control. The state of California in 2019 passed a law at the state level called AB 1482, and that's called the Tenant Protection Act. This thing came about after the California voters voted in a big majority to say no to statewide rent control. But the legislator in Sacramento said the people voted wrong. So then what happened? The legislator rammed this down our throats. Like, is this for real? We just voted no, and Gavin Newsom willingly signed, of course. And he signed it October 2019. And that law was actually something that was confused some of the representatives in Sacramento, because the California Association of Realtors kind of confused it by seemingly championing it. They're like, hey, this is a good piece of legislation. But the thing is, the legislation that was ultimately voted on was not the one that the CAR was actually backing. It was changed before it arrived to a floor vote. So by that time, those that CAR lobbied, they voted, hey, you said you wanted me to vote for this. The thing that pissed people off, though, was the CAR said they were not going to try to undo this. So there was going to be no campaign to try to right the ship. So then everybody gets punished for it. And the following year was COVID. And we all know what happened in California, particularly Los Angeles, rent freeze for 4 freaking years. 4 years. What you guys are hearing what's happening in New York City with Mamdani, because New York and Los Angeles are the two biggest cities and the cultures that compete in the United States. When you hear what's happening over there in New York City, it's like, it's already been happening here. Just that they're voting for it over there out loud, and then they get surprised that this happens. Like, I might talk about the Democrat Socialists of America, because some people are like, where did they come from? Dude, they've been around. I call it Democrats. But anyway, so this is Michael Brennan. He gave the first speech on 11. And then this one, the next talk was around 1:15. That was Dennis Block. I could not, unfortunately, go talk to local officials that were present there. There were some activist groups present and some NGOs as well. So they had some booths up, and I didn't get a chance to talk to them because I needed to also come back here to try to do this seminar thing. And my goodness, I'm going to try to hop in a little bit later. I don't know what time it is right now, 15 past the hour. So I'm going to try to hop back in. But the thing is, it's crazy about what's going on over there. This stuff is kind of wild in the insurance world. And I'll give you a quick rundown of what that's like in California, but it's not just happening here. It's happening in Florida. And Florida was happening before we were really impacted. And that's a Republican state, okay? So it's not a left-right issue. They're just different policies that I guess are well-meaning that just aren't doing what they're meant to do. So anyway, so there were power talk speakers and all that. So this is an event. That's why I encourage people, if you're in LA, if you're in North Orange County, and you can make time to go to one of these, it's an all-day event. The admission is free, and all these talks are free. You just got to concern yourself with parking. And it's held twice a year. Once at the LA Convention Center, the other one at Long Beach Convention Center, which was today. So I try to make the Long Beach one more often because it's so much easier to get in and get out. But it's the same event each time. It's just that when these guys go and present, whenever there's like updates to, like, for example, the changing landlord-tenant landscape that Michael Brennan talked about, or tenant scams in this case that Dennis Block talked about, it's important for you to know how that impacts you, whether you're a property owner or a renter, because it's ultimately going to affect you in one way or another. It's like the same thing with this whole AI discussion. When it comes to AI, some people say, well, my job is safe. Well, one of the things that I was speaking about, because I did speak with people over here, and I even spoke to my audience on social media. I was putting updates, so you don't follow me across the socials. You should, at the Andre Segovia. What is it right here? There we go, right there. You can follow me on those socials. I'm active the most there. I'm going to replace Substack with a different platform because I'm more active somewhere else now. But anyway, the thing is that when people talk about AI, when you look at the job numbers there, if you actually dig into the jobs data, they don't actually look that good. And that's not a good thing for the Trump administration. And just like we judged whenever the unemployment numbers and inflation numbers were fudged to favor the Biden administration, we got to hold our guy equally accountable. Yeah, because Trump is my guy. I don't apologize for that. Hell, I voted for him 3 times, so I don't apologize for any of that. So what I mean is that when you dig into the data and you see just how many jobs haven't left, but no pay bump has been done when you look at payroll, but you actually do see those that have lost their jobs because of AI as a trend over the past year. Then you start to realize that, you know what, some people are being affected by this. And if they're tenants, what happens then? If they're tenants, their income is then affected, which will then affect your rental income if you're the landlord of that property. See, so AI can affect you directly or indirectly on your wallet. And I gave my own little talks at the booths because I'm in real estate, I'm in construction, I'm in property management, and there was someone that was a tenant that she's like, oh my goodness, I wish to be able to buy one day. So I encouraged her and I gave her a quick rundown of what the environment looks like. And look, they're making it look really scary because it's true. There's some people are saying the American dream is unattainable, but can you attain that? What's it look like? So I told her the only thing you can do right now is to prepare. What does the landscape actually look like? What must you do now? And when I started breaking things down, she's like, wow, that makes so much sense. No one's ever told me any of that. It's like, no, because nobody actually thinks about this kind of stuff. They actually just go, okay, I think I'm ready to buy a house. What do I do? And then they go on Google or whatever, and they find a top 10 list of, the top 10 steps of what you must do to get ready for a property. Then I'm like, look, that's not good enough either because it doesn't prepare you emotionally. It doesn't prepare you mentally for the step you're about to take. And by the time you're about to make it, the last thing you want to hear from a lender is, you're not ready to buy yet. So the first thing I always tell people is like, the first thing you can do is to start right now, because whenever it is from here to the point that you close escrow, whether it's 90 days from now or 9 years from now, we don't know, whatever it is, if you have back credit and you got to build it or you're just starting to save, there's so many factors to all this. It's like, the point is to start now. It's the mindset that needs to shift. So I gave that talk to someone that works in construction. And I'm like, you are in a construction company, so that's as close as your ear to the ground as you can get. And just look at the trends. Look at what's happening with those that are calling for your services. Are they fixing up a house so they can sell it? Are they fixing up a house so they can improve on where they're calling home? So then I'll give you an idea what the trend is, especially if it's an area that you're interested in living in. So as soon as I highlight that a lot of the inventory that we've been turning around in this state has not actually been new inventory, it's old inventory, it tells you that we're not building enough, and that's what's contributing to a lot of the shortages we see in housing. But Andres, there's a bunch of apartments going up. Exactly. Those do not contribute to the numbers in housing. Those are just rental stuff that's completely different. They don't affect directly the demand for a home. In some cases, those rental properties are more expensive at a mortgage than a mortgage. So there's a lot of factors at play, a lot of complexities to all this, and that's why what I try to do is encourage and educate people on what I do. And one of the things that I know that some of you have expressed, if you tune in the replay, you'll notice it. But it's like, this is California or a more localized issue. You are not in California or in this local area. Why does it even matter? Why does it affect you? As I told someone on the trade floor, well, what if that person that gets affected by the policies here ends up uprooting and moving out of California to, say, Texas, to Arizona, to Nevada, and their dollar goes way further than it does here. They show up over there, and what do? They end up outbidding you because they probably have a better source of income, because over here the cost of living is the most expensive in the country. So then they take their income to another state where they can buy more and they can outbid you for that home. And then what happens if they vote the same way they did here? Now you're directly affected. There was an entire expression. It was like a campaign kind of sort where it was like, don't California my Texas. Like, no one's really doing that anymore. But that was the primary source for why Texas was purple. And I'll touch on a little bit of politics as to why that's important, just to give you guys a microcosm, because right now there's a lot of primaries happening. People are seeing what's happening in Florida in the past 24, 36 hours. People are noticing what's going on was it Minneapolis? Minnesota, Michigan? I forget which of the primaries that are closing. So people are reacting in their own different ways and this and that. By the way, any Tucker Carlson endorsement is a kiss of death. If you didn't know that. So just putting it out there, not one candidate this dude has endorsed has won. But this guy is supposedly going to change America with his new party. What the hell happened to you, Tucker? Anyway, that's an aside. So when you look at what's happened in what's going on in the Senate race for Texas is supposed to be a red state. What is happening in Texas right now? There's a concern that Ken Paxton might not be able to beat this Tallarico, the fake cowboy, the effeminate cowboy, the fake Christian that claims to be Christian. And they're running neck to neck. And there's concern that Tallarico will beat Ken Paxton. Because Ken Paxton brings a lot of baggage, but he's also MAGA. What will happen there? And people are like, how could this happen if Texas is a red state? Just 8 years ago, Ted Cruz almost lost to Beto O'Rourke. 8 years ago. Where were you guys? You guys need to pay attention to what's happening. And that you can almost blame Californians for Ted Cruz almost losing in that race. Like him or hate him, I'm just pointing out statistics here, okay? So that's why events like this that I'm highlighting are important for individuals, because you get learned about what's happening. So I mentioned a little earlier about Michael Brennan. Michael Brennan was giving a rundown of different kinds of legislation that was happening at the state level. It was like an inverse relationship. There were some things that I was very freaked out about. I reported on it. The good news is those didn't go through. So as he was highlighting, these things at the state level failed because property owners like you showed up. Like, oh, that's finally a win for us. Awesome. We still got legislation to defeat once the midterms rear its ugly head. But just know this, Californians, vote yes on Prop 43, okay? More on that in a different episode. So anyway, so Michael Brennan was bringing that up, but then he highlighted what's happening at the local levels. If you're not familiar, as I am, I know what's happening at the local level. So he was highlighting how the state wasn't doing it, but the local municipalities are doing their darndest to take as much away from you in terms of your property rights while taxing you into oblivion. They expect you to fund every single little thing. We have Pasadena right now considering another parcel tax. Pasadena, they've been liberal, but now they're just going straight up socialist after Pasadena residents previously voted to institute a rent stabilization ordinance, which is rent control. So I don't think I actually explained entirely what that is. So real quick, rent control. Let me just bring myself up. And I'm going to be wrapping it up here pretty soon. I feel like I'm running out of voice and energy. I'm spent from the trade show thing. Then I'm going to try to jump back into the Zoom call and need my faculties to pay attention to very boring and bilingual stuff. So anyway, when rent control. Whenever you hear anything like this, you probably understand it more as a rent cap. You can't raise the rent more than this, and you raise it only on a schedule, and that schedule is put out every fiscal year, which is July 1st. That's what happens. They control how much you can raise the rent, but that's not rent control. That's a rent cap. See, rent stabilization ordinance includes a rent cap. But what it ultimately includes is new bureaucracy that monitors you and your property. You have to register your property first with the city to inform them that you are renting. So then you pay a fee for that. And with that fee, you're paying for inspections. Usually there's 2 inspections a year. One of them is a scheduled inspection. The other one may or may not be a surprise inspection, kind of like the health, arriving to health inspectors showing up to restaurants kind of thing. And so that's what they do. And what do they do with those inspections? And boy, do I got a story to tell you in an upcoming episode about what the hell is happening with the LAHD inspector. But some of you might know about this. Let me just put it this way. LAHD inspectors are not building code inspectors. So those are from the Department of Building and Safety. They're the ones that have to go by the code, and it's updated every single year or whenever there's any changes, whatever. And that's also what impacts construction building times and delays and all that. So when you have, what's their names? LAHD. They're home inspectors going out there. These are not often building inspectors. These are activists. And the activists go and try to, just put a bunch of citations to force the property owner to fix it for the tenant. Because, the landlord's just taking advantage of the tenant. There's some reasonable LAHD inspectors, okay? But then they could call out things like, oh, what? That looks like it wasn't built to code. Like, well, what code? So I don't know yet, but I'll find out. And they'll come up with something like that. And then what happens is now they open a complete can of worms where the onus is on you, the property owner, that are given about 2 or 3 weeks to remedy the situation. And you got to go to the Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety to try to find a solution for this. And in doing so, you probably have to get permits. You might have to get architectural designs. All of this is thousands of dollars up front before you can even get a permit to then correct the problem that might not even be the solution that the housing inspector was saying to lift the issue. And you cannot do that in 3 weeks. So when I tell you that we're dealing with an issue that's been going on for at least 4 months for something that seems so minuscule on a 4-page report, anybody that knows when you pull up these reports and I'm going through and like, oh, yeah, whatever, then one thing stood out. I'm like, oh my goodness, a can of worms. Hell yeah. And thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars later, trying to figure this thing out. It's insane. But that's what they do. And what about if you have a nuisance tenant? Well, you can't just evict them because now there's tenant protections for them. And if you want to get rid of them, you got to go through this entire process that if you screw up at any point in the chain of the eviction process, you got to start all over again. But on top of that, you still got to pay them to get out. It's like, wait, but they owe me rent. Well, that doesn't matter. You're paying for them to get out. It used to be called cash for keys. Now it's pay them to move kind of thing. And now there's a number to that. And LA, in all their wisdom says, and you cannot start an eviction process if they missed 2 months of rents. Huh? What? There's an entire calculator that they put up on their website that it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo that just somehow supposed to make sense of this. The onus is on you to figure it out. They don't educate you to do it, but the onus is on you to figure out what they mean. And if you can't figure it out, too bad. That's where guys like those attorneys, like the Brennan Law Firm or the Dennis Block and Associates, where they come into play. And that's why at the trade show, I saw way more attorneys this time than I did last time. So 2 things, way more attorneys and way more insurance companies. And just to put a pin on this, AOAUSA.com is one of the few that's out there that's fighting for your property rights in California. Another one that's doing this in more Northern California is the California Apartment Association. I was also happy to meet the Pacific Legal Foundation. I didn't know they had a booth. They had a booth for the first time, at least that I noticed them in Long Beach. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I know you guys, but your logo looks different. Isn't it like yellow and blue? It's like, oh yeah, that was our old logo. Now it's our new logo. It's like red on black. And I'm like, that's very daredevil of you guys. For blind justice and all that. Anyway, so the whole insurance thing. As I pivot away, before I pivot away, so AOAUSA.com is one of those. I recommend anybody go check them out if you're in Los Angeles or Orange County and you own property, because there's resources there, including tenant screening and all that if you ever need it. And as Los Angeles and California as a whole tries to complicate things on tenant screening, so you might be in violation of everything before you even finish signing a lease. That's how crazy things are. So just letting you know that now we can't even rely on previous evictions. We can't even rely on credit reports to turn tenants away. It's crazy. You're being forced to house people. You can't. Then what property rights do you have to your own property in California? Socialism is on the march. That's why anybody talking about the Democrats, Socialists of America are doing this and that. It's like, dude, where the hell have you guys been? They're called the Democrats. I want you guys to really think about this. Ask a Democrat, a registered Democrat, and a registered Democrat Socialist of America what their positions are on issues such as healthcare for all, universal basic income, or abortion on demand, and they're all on the same lines. What is the difference? Nothing, except that one is pretending they're not, and the other is telling you what it is. So these guys are all the same, all the same. DSA or D, it's the same thing to me. It's just that they don't want to look as wild, but they're literally doing all those policies. Did you see the DSA moniker on the Biden administration? No, but that's the most Marxist administration we had, like beyond what Obama did. So what's all this reaction then? Where people are misunderstanding. Socialism has been on the march in California, especially in Los Angeles, for decades. And it starts with our property rights. So anytime rent control comes up, say no to that. Rent control has existed in Los Angeles since about 1978 or so. And the intention was to keep rents low while keeping the homelessness rates low as well. And what do we have? Los Angeles, the capital of homelessness. And we just had some numbers that had to be updated because they're making Karen Bass look good when it wasn't. And then there's the case of the rents, the most expensive in the country. So what are we talking about here? If it doesn't work, why do we need more of it? We don't. And they know it doesn't work. They don't care. It's about taking your rights away. And if you don't believe me still, then you have to look at what's happening with the Energy Commission of California in their ridiculous decision this week to take away your rights to buy your tires for your own car. I'm going to pull this story up because this was not something that I intended to cover, but because this whole bilingual insurance briefing, I don't know, man. I don't know how anybody's supposed to follow along speaking and then translating. Oh, you're just noticing, Pudge? Oh, no, that's from a few hours ago. Okay, sorry. A buddy of mine was having issues with Rumble streaming. And yeah, it's been down for most of the day. So just letting you guys know, if you didn't know that, Rumble Studio has been down for most of the day. I am streaming to X, Rumble, and YouTube, but it's through the old way of streaming to Rumble. And I'm using StreamYard to do this. Okay, let me just find the article. I think I have it under my likes. History. X has been messing around with how they curate stuff. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is from former Assembly member. Yeah, Assembly member Kevin Kiley. So let me share this with you guys. All right, here we go. It says, the new tire ban will make 70% of tires illegal and could cost consumers hundreds of dollars. Newsom supports it. Of course he does. He also signed a new healthcare tax that will increase premiums $400 for a family of four. This is why California is the nation's least affordable state. Meanwhile, this dude wants to be your president. This dude is going around touting about how much he has done for us here in California. Like, dude, all you ever done was screw us over. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Someone's trying to interrupt the feed here. Yeah, let me pull this up, though. Okay, making sure. But yes, so this is what I'm talking about with Corn Pop, the real Corn Pop. California taxpayers. Gavin Newsom, high five. Yeah, of course. Oh. It's an Amber Alert. That's what's vibrating. Imminent danger. So this is for anybody in Los Angeles. This Amber Alert's going out. Highway Patrol is looking for Sela Tillery. She's missing and believed to be in imminent danger. She was last seen August 19 at 1100 hours in Los Angeles. Interesting. Just thought I'd put that out there since, well, if anybody knows anything. So that's one of the things that It's happening here in California, and we're the first state to do this. Our energy commission taking away our tires, and they're specifically targeting premium tires. Oh, and this gets even crazier. You guys got to see this. Okay. My goodness. Oh, you would believe it. I think I reposted it 'cause I didn't like it. I don't just like something. You know, some people just like a post so the original poster knows that, hey, I saw it. I don't like doing that. I actually like reading and liking and meaning what I like. Okay, it's not there. Zavala. Okay, we'll search for it together. It's just that she's posted a lot. All right. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Okay, this is crazy. So she's a reporter in Sacramento, the capital, Ashley Zavala, and a journalist. And she posted just about 24 hours ago, right before 5 p.m. today, because she's one of the big ones that broke the news about the Energy Commission. She wrote, the California Energy Commission spokesperson sent me an email urging me to consider taking a different tone with my reporting on the state's new tire rules. Here is the email for you to consider. Note, commissioners haven't disputed the 70% figure. So what's the email? Hi, Ashley. I'm glad you were able to fold Commissioner Skinner into your covers yesterday. I've been meaning to reach out all day, but it's been a whirlwind. Your story got a lot of attention. Kudos to you on that. One thing in particular has gotten a lot of traction, and it's misleading. My hunch is you're probably not interested in the correction or modifying any future reporting, but I gotta share my 2 cents and urge you to consider taking a different tone. That has led, you report that 70% of tires will be eliminated. That has led people to think that those tires will not be replaced by new efficient tires. Just like light bulbs, televisions, and refrigerator standards, the market evolves and consumers have abundant access to efficient products that save them money. Manufacturers have 6+ years to adapt. The technology and, the technology and affordability options that have met the standards are there here in the US and around the world. You have focused your reporting on Goodyear's concerns with the standards, yet Michelin and Bridgestone are supportive and they operate almost 50% of the manufacturing plants in the USA. Let me know if it's at all helpful to clarify anything else. Wish I'd caught you sooner. Nikki Woodward, Director of Communications and External Affairs, California Energy Commission. So they're not disputing the number. They're just disputing how you reported it. Fact remains, performance tires out the windows. So we're supposed to put what kind of tires on our sports cars, sports SUVs, sports sedans, sports utility vehicles? Should I go on? And honestly, Natasha Owens put this out on her social media. Shout out to Natasha. Where she asks, okay, so we got the windmills, we got the solar panels, we got more energy efficient LED bulbs and all that. So how come our energy bills have only gotten higher? Duh. So on where in God's green earth are they going to believe that our tires will be more affordable by complying with this ridiculous standard they're putting up to? They're not just doing this, by the way. California, thanks to Gavin Newsom, has a ban on gas powered vehicles. You know what? Let's find out when that goes into effect. Might as well. I'm using Grok. Hey, what's going on? X is responding really slow. Okay. When does the gas vehicle ban go into effect in California? I think it was 2035. Because 2030 is supposed to be the ban on gas lawn equipment. The no enforceable blah blah blah. California, what? It's 2035. Okay, yeah. So 2035, some rules go into effect about 2035 is the ban. What the new rules that go into effect, I think, is next year that are requiring the car manufacturers to comply. So it's kind of like a phasing out period, supposedly. First, the one way they banned V8 engines is by requiring more efficient engines. So that's why we got V6s with EcoBoost and turbochargers and all that. And now that's going to go out the window. They're going to want us all driving Teslas. So I remember watching Minority Report for the first time in the theater. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh man, those cars are pretty cool in the future, right? Until, spoiler alert, Tom Cruise has to be the one brought in for questioning for a crime that he might commit in the future. And what happened? He's trying to get away in his vehicle, but then the government overrides it, or the police override it, and are bringing the vehicle back to wherever they need him to, wherever they want him to. So like I saw that, and that was 24 years ago, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I love tech, but there's no way I want an electric car. So Tesla's Rivian, what's the other one? There's another one, Polestar. I like Polestar. It's Volvo, but California, where there's an expression, where California goes, so does the rest of the country. We will affect you one way or another. Our politics do. We send you the most people to Congress, the Senate, House of Representatives. We have the most representation. How many members of in the White House, of the executive branch, have been for California? Just recently, the vice president was from California. California affects you, whether you live here or not. That's why you should care about what happens here. And for those of you that live in California, you got to care about what happens at the local level. That's the most important thing for you right now. Stop worrying about what Trump is doing at the federal freaking level. That's not what affects you directly. Hell, there's so many things that have been beneficial under the Trump economic policies, not the Iran war. That's pretty stupid because that backfired spectacularly. The Strait of Hormuz wasn't closed before we attacked, and now, hey, it's open. Yeah, but it doesn't help us, and now we're paying more in fuel than we did at the beginning of the year. And to say that, well, you're paying $4 a gallon, it's not that big of a deal right now. Well, it's a big deal for us over here because we're not paying $4 a gallon. We're paying $6 a gallon. So those parts contribute. But guess what? Gavin Newsom running around, but Trump's Iran war has made things more expensive for you. But what did he do? He was asked, so will you suspend the gas tax? Oh no. It went into effect July 1st. And what did he do? Suing the oil rig off Santa Barbara or Santa Clara, where is it? To stop them from producing more oil. Meanwhile, Chevron and Valero are taking it to California or going to war against Gavin Newsom, whereas all the other refineries are shutting down and leaving. I think Valero is leaving too, but Chevron's hanging in there. So that's what I mean. We have a state that has buffered itself against any benefits from the federal government. But for some reason, even those on the right, and this is what pisses me off lately, like, what is happening to those on the right where we're looking for solutions from the federal government? When was that ever the case? Before 2024, when was it ever the case where we as registered Republicans look to the federal government for our solutions? But that's what the Marxist right is complaining about. The Tucker Carlsons, the Candace Owens of the world, the Sean Ryans. Where the hell is all this coming from? So I feel like I'm eating crazy pills. And that's one of the things that, I guess, to close this all out, I ended up talking with, at the trade show, catching up with some friends, because there's some political activists and all there. And I have been recruited multiple times to start a political, or at least run a political action committee in my area. And as flattered as I am, I've turned them all down, because I'll save the other part of the story for some other time. But I turned it down for the same reason I turned down invitations to go to AmFest from TPUSA and CPAC. It's just not for me. Okay. And as I told a candidate that I met at the conference, like, kudos to her. Her heart's in the right place. Uphill battle, but her heart's in the right place. As I told her, I myself was doing a grassroots campaign to run, not by my choice. It was the neighbors that really wanted this. So I did have a campaign manager for the exploratory campaign and all that to run for city council. I mean, I don't live there anymore, but I guess I should tell you that was the city of Anaheim. And this was 2012, I think, after the redistricting. So at the time when I wanted to run for city council to represent my area, it was to look, I appreciate what the House of Mouse has done for the betterment of Anaheim. But at the same time, they had a stranglehold on a lot of the policies that were happening in Anaheim that would favor Disney. And that was going to be a bad look. My intent was like, look, we cannot just capitulate to the House of Mouse all the time. Because if we do, then we're going to have another extreme reaction where we're going to have such an extreme reaction that we're going to have socialists or communists coming into Anaheim, into power. 10 years later, that's exactly what happened. There's a literal, she's not DSA. She's a Democrat, unapologetically communist mayor of Anaheim. Because the previous mayor, who resigned, some say in disgrace, even though nothing was ever actually brought up against him, or formally, like, he was a businessman that's lived here for so long, contributed so much to Anaheim. But then when he resigned because of the whole Angels fiasco of the stadium and all that, then what happened? We got a communist in power. Not to mention the city council. We had Jose Moreno there long before that, one of the two communists that were on the city council. So you're seeing that happen with the right, where even among them, they are going to such extremes where they're pushing for Marxist policies for solutions. That's why I asked the question, since when did we look to the federal government for our solutions? The ones that impact us the absolute most are at the state and the local levels. But everybody's busy worrying about what Congress is doing or not doing, what Trump said or didn't say, or was misunderstood. I'm so sick of it. They drive the ratings, but it drives everyone else crazy because it distracts you from what matters the most. And it's what's happening in your own backyard. Almost everything you're complaining about is usually on the ballot here in California. But you're too busy following the Washington circus for it. You know, I could take a joke. A buddy of mine gave me this. I've had it here. I did that. He told me, go put it on your gas pumps. I'm like, I'm not going to put it in the gas pumps, but I'm going to go put it at some of the grocery items that dropped. But I haven't done that yet either because even the price of beef went up. So it's we are a world economy, okay? So there's a lot of things that are going to play, but if anything, if people vote economically, let's not kid ourselves. There are things that have been done at the federal level, be it through tariffs, be it through instability in the Middle East, as always, that have affected our wallets. But to what extent is to each their own, because each state is different. But California has done so much more, where we depend almost entirely on foreign oil. And we're oil rich here. So if Sacramento really gave a damn, instead of them trying to make you get pissed off at Trump all the time, like, they would do something about it. But instead, they're shutting down refineries, over-regulating, and passing gas taxes. But they want you to hate Trump for what happened in Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, this was not the stream that I intended to do. And at this point, the other stream, the webinar will probably finish. So I will tune into what I can, get what I can out of it. So all I'll say is this, and I made a promise. Shout out to Feral Housewife over on Pickaxe. She's on X too, but Pickaxe, showing some love from the folks over at Pickaxe. Because try it out if you're interested, especially if you're tired with X and its pathetic algorithm. Everybody knows I'm across many different social platforms, and I'll let the banner play so you guys know on the ticker where you can follow me across the socials at the _Segovia on X _ Segovia. I would pay to have 15 characters so I can just put the _Segovia on X as well, but no. So okay, I took a screenshot of it because I expressed what can possibly be the solution to the insurance crisis. in California. Florida has their problems and they're worse than ours, and that's a Republican state. So like, I don't know what the true solution is for insurance. I deal with insurance. I don't hand out insurance, so I don't know that world. And I like what Feral Housewife said. She responded to me over on Pickaxe. She writes, repeal Proposition 103 and bring back the fair market, not the overregulated socialism project that Prop turned it into. Also, liquidate the California Fair Plan to pay out for the losses they couldn't cover instead of requiring other carriers to pay to play in the market. State Farm had 25% of homes insured in California until mandatory participation would have made them pay out for 25% of losses for the California Fair Plan. What company would want to increase policies when it would also increase their financial liability to an insolvent company? And a follow-up post to that. And as a direct result of that, State Farm now insures 0 homes in California. Liberty Mutual, Safeco slowly doing the same. Allstate is rearranging and thinking about issuing policies again. In the case of Liberty Mutual and Safeco, I can attest to that because they were my insurance carrier. And earlier this year, they sent me a letter and they said, we're canceling your insurance, like non-renewals. Like, why? Because. That's really because. Hey, look who's here. Bert, welcome. So shout out to Bert. Follow him from the dark side. You can follow him over on Parler and Pickaxe. Appreciate you, man. And I just pivoted to insurance. My goodness, as I was covering from the trade floor, Bert was actually chiming in. You know what? Well, it wasn't part of my notes, but Bert, if you're still on here live, if it's okay to read your comment that you left me on Parler, if you do, then let me know. I'll say it. The Rumble link took me to YouTube. I think there was an issue with Rumble, so that's why I think I might have posted the YouTube link. Either way, because right now Rumble Studio was down, so a lot of users can't stream. So there's been a lot of people that have not been able to stream via Rumble Studio for the most part of the day. But and for those of you that might be tuning in from Gab, I appreciate you too over there. But okay, so he said, sure. Let me pull this up because I was making a mention about the insurance issue, and it's crazy here in California. I mentioned the solutions from Feral Housewife because she works in the insurance industry, and then there's whatchamacallit. There's Florida. I got no solutions for Florida. My goodness, that is a problem. But over here, when I made mention about, I was going to fact check the commissioner. I couldn't. Bert wrote this on Parler. He said, my ex and daughter sold out here and put it all into a large property in Utah. Really pissed me off about 5 years ago. Well, they sold out under the radar and bought properties here back home. Kind of same type of area up there. Utah passed a law. They could not be insured because of potential fires. And get this, if Utah did a prescribed burn that destroyed their property, they would not be insured. This madness is spreading. Like that, I cannot even grasp. So if the state, for those of you that don't understand how fires works, if you're in a wildfire zone, hopefully these things are maintained, okay? But in order to make sure that overbrush and things just doesn't get so out of control, there's something called prescribed burns. These are fires that are purposely started, not arson, purposely started by firefighters or whatever to control an area, to burn it out. So whenever there's a threat of a wildfire, there's nothing for it to burn because it's already been burned. That's what a prescribed burn is. These things can get out of control. So what Bert was saying with this post was that if there was a prescribed burn and oops, sorry, your house got burned in the prescribed burn, you're SOL. Like, that is nuts. That's Utah. I don't know what the Mormons are doing up there. Maybe the liberal Mormons are taking over because the conservative Mormons, where they go? The conservative Mormons from Utah are the ones that helped California ensure that Proposition 8 just over a decade ago would pass here. What was that? To tell the world, hey, marriage is between a man and a woman. But because the Mormons helped us, then some people brought some claims, and then a gay judge said, that law cannot stand, even though the people voted for it. and it got overturned, made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and it's one of the reasons why we have gay marriage recognized countrywide. It's not just state by state anymore. Anyway, long story short, see how California affects you one way or another. But seriously, Utah, that's crazy. And last year I did a road trip, and I had to plan my road trip for the first time ever, having to plan around fires. All my routes, fires. But there's one that I could not avoid, and that was Utah. I had to pass the, oh my goodness, what was that? It was the biggest fire of the year. It was burning for like a couple of months. Oh my goodness, Madison fire, Mason, whatever. There's so many different fires, but that one burned all the way up. I had to cross over from Colorado, from Boulder Springs, Colorado. No, is it Grand Junction? Freaking A, Colorado Springs, I think. Whatever. Yeah, no, it was Boulder Springs. Yeah, from there into Utah, and my kids were like, "Dad, how come it got so dark?" Because it was bright as day, and I'm like, "Because we're into the fire. There's no other way around it. You could see from far away, like, we have to go through that monstrosity." And we did. So then when we got around it on the interstate and we got to the 15 freeway traveling south from Provo, we looked out and the kids were like, first they were astonished because they never saw the actual aerial assault on fires. So for them, it was like, whoa, that looks so cool. But yeah, there's just so much there for sure. But anyway, the insurance thing, all I could say is to the state and to the federal government when it comes to economy, laissez-faire, hands off, get out of the way, stop what you're regulating. You're the reason this thing has gotten the way it has. And all sorts, from rent control to insurance, where it's insane. Regulation. But anyway, I gone on long enough. I fulfilled my part of the thing. I'm sorry I could not do the live react to the California Insurance Commissioner. Seriously, it's going to be interesting to replay that thing because Bert, if you're listening, so this thing, they're doing it bilingual. They didn't do that last time. So they have someone speaking in English and then someone cutting and speaking in Spanish. I'm like, wait, you guys are on the same feed. This is crazy. You guys are talking over one another. And they were trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this where it's not sounding so chaotic? So that means however long this thing was going to be, if it was going to be like 30 minutes, it's an hour. If it's an hour, it's 2 hours. So I don't know. And yo hablo español, but that I could not take. That was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. That's ridiculous. So is there a way to push one for English only? They didn't do that. But the reason I wanted to react to it is because the last time I did this, it was 30 minutes before the insurance commissioner's briefing. It was like a last minute thing, inviting real estate professionals. And it was to give us talking points to try to upsell the insurance crisis isn't really a crisis. It's actually advantageous and new opportunities. I'm like, what? So I immediately asked the first question. I'm like, what are you doing about the insurance companies that are leaving the state? Oh, they're not leaving the state. They're just not issuing policies. Whatever the hell, man. The point is they're canceling insurance policies, man. So the point is I streamed that. I caught them. He was lying through his teeth for most of the thing, almost all of it. Then they took down the stream. Or at least they privated it and buried it. Then they eventually made it public again over on Facebook. But for the government website, they buried it somewhere deep. So that's why I wanted to react to it again. But seriously, I don't know how anybody was going to be paying attention to that nonsense, the way it was being handled. So hopefully they figured it out. I'll try to chime in. And I do appreciate you coming over. I think, Bert, because you mentioned this, and some of you that are probably tuning in, they're like, whoa, why is it pulling up YouTube instead of Rumble? Maybe because for those of you on YouTube, you'll notice that I also used a Rumble thumbnail because I was supposed to stream from Rumble Studio. But Rick Ricada is Ricada. I'm mistaking the names. I'm sorry, Rick. I can't believe I mispronounced your last name. I think I did, at least. But he was mentioning that Rumble Studio is down and has been down for most of the day. So I was trying to get out his updates. Where's your update, dude? Wow, that early? Yeah. So it was a little earlier that the post about we even got an email from Rumble saying that Rumble was still down. So that's why I'm streaming from StreamYard, and I'm streaming over to X, YouTube, and Rumble. So for those of you that tuned in across all of them, I appreciate you all. Now, those of you guys know I don't have any sponsors. I don't do that. I have been in talks. I did have an update, a little bit of a plot twist. The last company that offered me a sponsorship talk, I turned them down because I didn't want to give them editorial input over my review of their services, and that I thought that was going to be the last of it. They actually took that in stride and say, "Oh, let us know when you put the thing out, and then we can reconnect." I'm like, "Well, you're one of the first companies, if not the first, to come back to me." So that's interesting. So it's along the same lines that I think next week or two, I'm going to be reposting a redux, or like a remastered review of one of only 2 products that I ever tested from companies that offered it to me that never required to have editorial input. They believed in their product so much that, hey, I'm going to say what I say. And they let me. Only 2 companies, Activity Tracker and Unplug. So the next one's going to be Activity Tracker. They're still around and they're doing pretty well. So that's good. That's good. That speaks to their service. So anyway, that's where I'll leave it. I don't have any sponsors or anything like that, but I do have affiliate links. And for anybody that's interested in checking that out for yourselves, where is my... Oh, that's right. You can just go in the description down below. For those of you who are on Rumble and YouTube, just look down below. You'll find my affiliate links across everything. You can follow me across the socials, as always, at the Andres Segovia. You know what? It's some people have asked me about this, so especially if you're a content creator. So I'm going to close out with this. Over on Pickaxe, because I'm thinking about moving my Substack to Pickaxe. Let me see if I can just pull up my article here. Come on. Okay, let me just make sure. So this is the last thing I'll close out with, because this is where you'll find me. Okay, so you guys will get a look at Pickaxe. And let's move here. All right. So I wrote this article. It's titled, "To Me, Social Media Platforms Are the New Chat Rooms of Old." You can find it. I think I posted this on Substack too. So I'm personally across at least 20 social media platforms. I'm verified on most of them. So some of you guys might already know this. It used to be that you can find everyone you're looking for on one platform, but that has not been the case for a long while now. In my experience, I found that Facebook users were more willing to experiment with other platforms, even if they were not ready to pull the plug on Facebook. Personally, I ditched Facebook and never looked back years ago. Then Google, oh wait, no, sorry, I skipped it. Oh, did they block it? Where's the mention of Parler? Hey. Something's off right here. Okay, there was a section about Parler that's not here, because Parler was the first platform that I found after leaving Facebook and trying to find an alternative to Twitter, because Twitter was I couldn't take it anymore. So I went over to Parler because at the time it was the fastest growing platform that threatened the powers that be, and those powers were Facebook and Twitter. They were legitimately threatened by what John Mates did with Parler. Parler was pretty much like Twitter, just a much better experience, and like throwback to good old-fashioned social media. So then Facebook and Twitter conspired against them. Then Google, Apple, and Amazon torched them. So that's the section that for some reason is not there. It was there. Multiple people have read it, so I don't know what happened here. Maybe this little thing right here to receive posts is blocking it. So anyway, then Google, Apple, and Amazon torched them, being Parler. Okay, Gab was the canary in the coal mine. Andrew Torba, who's the CEO and founder of Gab, formerly from Silicon Valley, knew he had to scale in a way to prevent big tech from shutting Gab down. Despite the strong headwinds against them from big tech and foreign governments, Gab survived. So, by the way, happy 10th anniversary to Gab. Good on you guys. This week they celebrated 10th anniversary. Both Gab and Parler were platforms Facebook and Twitter refugees called home. Once those places were affected, users once again were left scattered in the wind. In the past decade and recent transformation of ex-Twitter, more platforms have popped up competing for users' time and sometimes money. As a content creator, I strive to be on as many places as possible. I'll highlight some of the major platforms because it's not just possible to give each one equal billing. So I've had to adapt. I use certain platforms for networking, others for socializing, and only a couple for personal updates. It's a balancing act I mastered for myself. What helped me juggle all this was to view these different platforms as chat rooms of old, back in the day. So remember those? Those were interest-based gathering spaces organized by themes such as gaming, music, dating, and served as a major social hub. So social media platforms are today's chat rooms if you know how to leverage them as a creator, that is, because I'm a creator. So here are my top 5 social media platforms. I'm going to end up clipping this section out as its own clip and episode later for the podcast. My top 5, Instagram. Instagram is far and away my most active social account. It's also the oldest one that I've had before Facebook bought them, bastards. It also happens to be my oldest. In my experience, Instagram users have been the most difficult to convince to try out other places. IG users just won't do it unless it's TikTok. So I have taken to provide unique content to help to keep followers engaged. It has also helped me build connections with people and talent that complement my show. Number 2, Parler. Parler is a complicated relationship. And Bert, you're still watching, you know this very well. Parler, it's the place of great memories and later great suffering. Sure, some of the bad experiences were the result of big tech, but others were self-inflicted. George Farmer, Kenneth Owens, and yet I've kept coming back. Perhaps because it's the platform that never got to experience its true potential. Perhaps it's the people I've met there and have remained there through the ups and downs. Whatever the reason may be, the third time's a charm is possible this time around. For the Play TV platform picking up the slack that YouTube and Rumble will give me, to the Lounges feature that has replaced my Discord and Guilded forums, from its own blockchain and infrastructure and creator features not found anywhere else, there's potential for sure. Unfortunately, one major thing riding against them is the media tarnished name Parler. It's one of the reasons outside investors have issues with them, and it's probably why I have a soft spot for them. So that is, in a nutshell, what Parler, they're still around, and I'm active. I'm a creator, and I'm active. I don't just pay lip service. Parler's never paid me. They promoted me. Thank you, Parler. But I've never asked them for anything to to compensate me for anything. And they never asked, they never even charged for any other stuff too, even with the new ownership. So there's that's a relationship that I can get behind. But that whole thing that the name Parler has been smeared by the legacy media, that is a disservice to them, which is why they kind of like how Facebook ended up having Meta, which they created a company to then put themselves under. So no, we're not Facebook. We are under Meta. Instagram is under Meta. WhatsApp is under Meta. It's all Facebook. Same thing with Google. What do they end up doing? It's like, you know what? Let's create Alphabet and we'll put ourselves under it. Well, so did Parler. Parler had to do that with Sovereign because Parler built out an entire ecosystem, a video platform, a crypto wallet long before Rumble did it, before X did it. So, and a shop. So they have been creating their own infrastructure. It hasn't been easy, and I can only imagine that trying to get investors on board has been difficult too. And they have a roadmap that they wish to accomplish. And yeah, I'm an unofficial brand ambassador for them because I've been there, and I'm still there, and I'll keep staying there. I appreciate the people there, Bert being one of them. And follow Bert over on Parler. He posts great stuff, and there's just what's been missing from Parler that a lot of us Parlers types or Parler peeps, as we used to call ourselves, miss is the social aspect of things. Because just like any other major platform, there's a bot issue. It's just that we wish that Parler can up their game in clearing out the bots. It's just that there'll always be more bots. But the thing is, the social media aspect is what was lost. That's what made Parler endearing. That's what made us go back and suffer through Parler 2.0 before George Farmer made bank and sold all our data to Starboard. Stupid. They did nothing with it. But now the new ownership has this, and they've been trying to do something great. And again, they have the potential to do it. Third time's a charm, hopefully. I call it Parler 3.4 or 3.5. Because it's very different from when they launched just over a year ago. But that social aspect is where Pickaxe comes into play. And it didn't happen overnight either. It took a while. I've been on Pickaxe very early on for about a year. So Pickaxe is now also my second most there, tied with Parler. Pickaxe has become my second go-to platform right there with Parler in less than a year. It started off as a LinkedIn Substack hybrid and then kicked into gear once the gamer community made this place home. There's something refreshing about a platform that puts creators and people first while rewarding them for spending their time here. Pickaxe has become both a socializing and networking platform for me. I'm sure others have experienced the same. And more importantly, for Rumble, mostly creators, they finally have a place to build real community. So kudos to Jeff Dornick and crew for the hard work, and shout out to Yashi Smits. I met him through Parler. Thank you, Trinity, that made that introduction happen. But Yassi is the one who turned me to Pickaxe as well. So number 4 is X. That's a double on. I call it X Twitter. That's a double entendre because it's still a cesspool, but in a whole different way. But X is literally where all the news happens. So I tread lightly because it's cesspool. I usually keep to staying up to date on current events while posting my own news content, like I'm streaming there right now. I also engage and network there with big name talent because, well, they're not anywhere else. So lastly, Gab. So Gab is like Parler and X to me. It's a place I have a soft spot for because that's where I made my first real affiliate connections and friends that have helped me grow my show. But like X, it's a haven for trolls. Those same friends I made have left the platform years ago. Some of the businesses left too. I remain there because I usually say it's not a platform problem, it's a people problem. You'll find unsavory folk everywhere. It's just that a true free speech platform often encourages trolls to troll. So that's how I do social media, and thanks to tools like If This and That, I can automate cross-posting of my content to many places. So, and what say you for creators? Yeah, and Bert chimed in here when I was talking about Parler. I still think the app issues are caused by Apple and Google. PC, no issues generally. I wholeheartedly agree. I've noticed, especially when there's some updates, some people, I always update my apps. But then there's others users that get them. I don't know what it is about the tech gremlins, but they love Trinity. She's always getting the worst of the worst. She's had so many errors. I'm like, girl, I'm not getting any of those. I never experienced anything that she has, and I'm always on it. I'm on it on an iPhone. I'm on it on an Android device. I'm on it on a computer because that's what I live on pretty much. I'm doing my content creation while running 3 different businesses all at once. So like, I don't know. I don't run into these things. So these gremlins, it's part of it's to each their own, but it's also how quickly these different, I guess, app stores can publish the updates. Because that's one of the things that frustrates me the most. Like, oh, we pushed out an update. I've actually posted stuff on app stores before. But now you can just go to my website, theundersegovia.com, and turn it into a progressive web app. So I bypass that. You don't need an APK. But the thing is that before, when I did it, you can submit it, but it could take 24 or 36 hours for it to post. And by then, if you caught an error along the way, you can't stop it from publishing. All you can do is upload the new version and let it wait in the queue. So that's some inside knowledge as to some of this work. So I get it. If there's a buggy update that goes out and the update that fixes that bug, it hasn't been published yet because it's stuck in queue. It's so annoying. And the fact that Apple has gone the direction of Android to try to make one type of iPhone for a bunch of different people, like you get the folding one because it's coming. You get the Pro but small one. You get the Pro but big one. You get the regular one, and then you get the cheapy weep one because you can't buy the good one. There's all these different sizes. And having to meet those different screen ratios, that was an Android problem that's now also an iPhone problem. Because some of the screens are 720, others are 1080, some of them are 2K or iPad and all that. So that's where all these things come from when it comes to the tech world and all that. And speaking of tech, I have a bunch of boxes that I got to go unbox. So stay tuned. And the Pebble will be here soon too, God willing, because it shipped yesterday. Final freaking Lee, man. I've been waiting since April? I didn't get into the April batch. Oh, we're sorry. That's what I get for picking the red color. But I look forward to unboxing a unique version of the Pebble with you all. Pebble's back. Yeah. But I got a bunch of products to unbox from Google, which, stay tuned, I'll be sharing here. But hey, Bert, dude, I know you don't do long podcasts or live stream forums, or at least you express that much, but I appreciate you tuning in. Nicole Coconut over on Rumble, thank you so much for tuning in and chiming on the chat. I know there have been more of you that have been lurking in the background. I'll find you on the socials. I appreciate you guys tuning in and letting it play in the background while either you're driving or still at work or whatever it is that you're doing. I just know that I appreciate you all the same. Remember to follow me across the socials at the Andres Segovia. On X, Twitter, _Andres Segovia. Anything, everything about me is at theandressegovia.com. For those of you over on YouTube and Rumble, look below. You'll find my affiliate links. These are products that I use on the daily. I wouldn't guide you any other way. And also, while I drink all forms of coffee, Blackout coffee is the one I've been pitching more lately. And I highly recommend it. So go check it out. I got the 250th anniversary roast. I don't know if they still have it over at Blackout, but I hope they do because my goodness, that's a really good roast. And that's the one I've been drinking all week. So, guys, get yourself your coffee. And by the way, for those of you on Parler, because this video will go up on Play TV for the replay. Just letting you guys know, I don't know if you guys ever tried the store. I'm testing it myself. So I'll let you know how that experience turns out because it looks like the product's being shipped. Looking forward to that. But anyway, that's it. Thank you so very much. I'll see you on the next one.